Hey everyone, Gary here from Echidna Sewing, and today we're going to show you how to do the regular user oiling on the Halo X multi-needle embroidery machine. All embroidery machines need a little bit of maintenance on pretty much a daily basis when you're using them, and that is primarily to make sure that the rotary hook, where the bobbin case goes to, is oiled. It's very, very important, as if it's not oiled and it's running dry, the machine will not stitch correctly, and you could even get some broken or shredded threads, and of course prematurely wear out the rotary hook mechanism. So let's take a look at that first. So the rotary hook is the part that holds the bobbin case, and I'm pointing to it right there. The bobbin case is currently in this machine, so I'm going to take the bobbin case out and just explain why this is important to oil. The hook is the part that spins around and picks up the thread for each stitch, and it is metal on metal, so if it's not oiled it will run hot and dry and cause all sorts of grief. And the area we need to oil is just in here where the rotary hook basically runs around the race of the bobbin case basket, if you want to call it that. And so we'll just grab our oil. Now, any standard white machine oil, sewing machine oil, will be fine. The oil that came with the machine will be fine, or any sewing machine store will sell this type of oil. I'm using these little nice little fine tip bottles. Means that I'm not going to get too much oil where it needs to go. But basically the oil needs to go just there, and we're going to put 2 or 3 drops right there, and we're going to do that every day we use the machine, and do that at the start of the day. And if you're having a big day of embroidery, you may even have to do that 2 or 3 times during the day. What you will find is if the machine or the hook is running dry, the machine will sound a little bit rattly. It'll actually make a bit of noise, and it could even shred thread, because that's a common problem when you're not oiling the hook. So be sure to oil that point. Really, really important. Again, just in here, and if you're using a good quality oil, it's just going to keep the hook in good shape for years and years and years to come. So a little tip also is that once you've finished oiling the hook, and it's a good idea just to take a hoop that you don't use very often, always leave it with a bit of fabric and stabilizer in there, pop that hoop in and just stitch a simple letter from your alphabet or some simple little design. It just works that oil into the hook, and so you're not likely to get any residue or oil residue on the first project that you do after you oil the hook. Again though, if you're using a good quality white oil, you're unlikely to get any staining or anything like that as a result, but that's just one way to avoid that. There are some other parts on the Halo X that also do need oiling on a regular basis, and on the same day, whenever you're using the machine, I would also recommend dropping a couple of drops of oil into the lower shaft bushing oil hole, which is just here. So again, just 2 or 3 good drops into there. Do that every day you use the machine as well, and that will keep that bushing nice and oiled. Then we're going to take a look at how to oil the needle bars, and now that doesn't need to be done daily. Every 2 weeks would be fine. Every week, if you wish. Wouldn't want to leave it over a month, that's for sure, but definitely a simple process, and made a little bit easier on the Halo X. So let's take a look at how to oil the needle bars. So of course, this is a 10 needle machine, so there are 10 needle bars, and to access the needle bars on the Halo X, you've got a handy little sort of front cover here that will come off, and you just need to get your fingers or a screwdriver or something into there, and you can prise that down. Now be careful not to pull all the threads out, so you then just slide that out. It just clips in and out quite easily, and there we can see all the needle bars. Now the important thing to note that on the top, on the bottom section of the needle bars here, and on the top section, there's a little felt pad that sits around every needle bar, and that's what you want to make sure is kept oiled and moist with oil, so it will ensure the needle bars don't prematurely wear or potentially seize. That's what happens if you don't oil the right locations. Now we'll have a look down here. You can see there is the little felt pads down there, and what we do is we just drop some oil onto those felt pads so as that they're nice and moist with oil. You don't want to go too crazy. If you put too much oil on there, you will get oil splatter coming out on your garment, or the item that you're embroidering. So what I recommend is that at the bottom of every needle bar, as you can see, I'll just do it again here, the bottom of every needle bar where you can see the felt pad, just put 2 or 3 drops of oil on at every point there. You know, even doing that once every couple of weeks is not a bad idea, just keeping it nice and moist. Now you'll also notice across the needle bars here, we've got these springs. They're very important, and just below or sort of halfway up the springs, you can see there's a sort of a sleeve, and then there's the needle bar itself. I do recommend putting a couple of drops of oil, I'll just get that on the right angle, on each needle bar just above that sort of dark grey sleeve, and just a couple of drops. You don't need a lot, and that will work wonders. And then on the top of the needle bar, or the head system here, there's also, you can see through the gate here, there's a spring on each needle bar, and the same deal, we're going to go in and drop a couple of drops of oil on each needle bar just behind the spring, and we just go through and work that across all 10 needles, and that will ensure that oil it'll sort of fall down and go into the felt pad that sits across the top there, which is a bit harder for you to get to. So a liberal 2 or 3 drops on every needle bar at the top of the head as well, behind the spring, and that will keep your needle bars fantastically lubricated. Another area that you can easily oil and get to, and do this every couple of weeks, is the bearings on the Y-axis drive. And you'll see there's a hole just in here, and just 2 or 3 drops of oil in there every couple of weeks will ensure that's well maintained. And then if we turn the machine around, there is one on the other side as well. It's a little bit harder to see, but because it's directly under the motor there that drives the X-axis. But there's a tiny little hole there again, and another 2 or 3 drops in that hole every couple of weeks. That'll keep those 2 shafts well lubricated. So one other spot to have a look at as your regular maintenance or oiling maintenance, and that is on the side of the machine. You will see there's a little sight gauge for an oil sump. So this is the little sight gauge you've got here, and there's a little hole at the top of it, and all we're going to do is, you know, once a month even, just make sure that you put a good little sort of trickle of oil in there. You will be able to see the oil level. I actually find using a torch and shining it on there is a good option, because you can actually see the oil level as you put oil into there. You don't want to overfill it though, otherwise it will come out of the little hole at the top, but you do need to make sure that there's always oil in that little reservoir there, and that oil basically gets sucked up by a wick and taken into the main drive mechanism that drives the needle bars up and down. So now that we've done everything we needed to do, we've got to put the little cover back on that covers the needle bars, and it is just a case of gently sliding that in behind the threads that are sitting there. You don't want the threads going behind it, and I'm being careful because I won't need to rethread the machine as long as I'm careful here and pull all these threads forward, and there they all are. And then it's just a matter of positioning the cover down in the little slots that it has sitting there, and then pushing it back, thumbs on both corners, and just clicking it into place. Now you'll see there's a few sort of loose threads there. The easiest way to tidy them up is just go back to the thread on the thread stand and just gently pull back that little bit of slack on each thread. Don't pull it too hard, otherwise you'll pull the thread out of your needle, but you can see how that's tidying up there. And a really simple little process. And of course through the other side. And I'm a bit of a stickler for having my threads nice and neat and tidy. And we've got one more at the back, and there we go. So nice and tidy. So that's it. Keeping your regular daily and weekly, fortnightly, monthly oiling maintenance up to speed is pretty easy on the Halo X. I hope this video has been helpful for you, and of course, as always, if you have any questions about that, anything we're talking about here, please contact us. But other than that, happy embroidering. Cheers.